Welcome to the educational channel. This is Unit 5, Episode 21, Precious Resources. In this episode, we will cover vocabulary and setback questions. Here are a few tips for the setback questions. Make sure to read all the questions carefully. Remember, the questions are of general nature, so you can use your own background information as well as the textbook information. Write full, meaningful sentences and provide at least 2 causes, effects, or reasons according to the question. Pay attention to the spelling and revise your answers. Precious resources. Let me ask you a fun question here. Can you guess the duration of plastic decomposing? Duration means the time during which something continues. For example, the duration of the movie was 3 hours. It was too long. So duration is the time of something. Can you guess the duration of plastic decomposing? It is 450 to 1,000 years. This is how long it takes. That's why we should recycle, and that's why we will focus here on this crisis. Crisis is a noun. It is a time of intense difficulty, trouble, or danger. For example, many workers lost their jobs because of the economic crisis. What does recycling mean? When I tell you we should recycle because plastic takes a long time to decompose, what does recycling mean? Recycling means to reprocess unwanted materials to create new ones. Reprocess means to process something again or differently. Example, experts are trying to reprocess fuel for the first time in the country's history. Why is recycling becoming such an important issue nowadays? Think about it. Why are we telling you that we should recycle and there are a lot of campaigns about recycling? Why is it important nowadays? Think of the title of the unit. It may give you an idea why it's important. Precious resources. What do you think? We are running out of natural resources. They are very precious resources and we need them. Since we're running out of them, that's one reason that we should recycle. Run out of means to be used up. For example, people need to start recycling more before we run out of land to dump waste. Another thing is we are running out of places to bury or get rid of the absurd amount of household waste. Get rid of means to dispose of, to throw away. Example, factories get rid of unwanted products at sea, which is detrimental to marine life. Look at the picture. They're getting rid of things at sea. An upsurge means an upward surge in the strength or quantity of something. An increase is another synonym. Example, recently there has been an upsurge in coronavirus worldwide because of the second wave. And household waste is material that is not wanted at home. Example, household waste includes food, waste, paper, plastic, metal, and glass from consumables. Now, I tell you to recycle, but do you know what kinds of material or which kinds of material can be recycled? This is something you really need to know. But what is material? Material is the matter from which a thing is or can be made, like in the picture. Example, there are many materials that we can use for the carnival's decoration. Here are a few examples of kinds of material that we can recycle. Plastic, paper, cardboard or packaging, glass. Packaging is the material used to wrap or protect goods. Example, she didn't recognize the restaurant because they changed their food packaging. Now, what are collection points? Collection points are particular spots or places where rubbish or litter is gathered. For example, there are many collection points for plastic in Kuwait set up by Omnia. Now, what are the most precious natural resources in Kuwait? the most precious natural resources in Kuwait are oil and groundwater. Think of this question for a bit. Why can't some materials be recycled? Why can't we recycle materials such as car batteries? Why do we have only specific things to recycle? Some material can't be recycled because they produce toxins, poisonous, or they cost too much money to recycle. Now, another word for you is constant. Constant means occurring continuously over a period of time. When babies start walking, they need constant attention to avoid danger. What does green waste mean? Have you ever heard this term, green waste? What does it mean? It means anything that has grown in the ground, such as trees, grass, leaves, and plants. How can green waste be best used? How do we use green waste? We can use wood for heat and cooking, if you have a chimney especially. Green things are used to help new plants grow by composting them. Compost means to make vegetable matter into decayed organic material used as a plant fertilizer. Example, don't compost heavily infested plants. Use food waste instead. Now, everything has advantages and disadvantages, including recycling, believe it or not. So, first, on the bright side, let's look at the advantages of recycling. Some of the advantages are protecting valuable resources, reducing landfills, lands where we throw waste, a healthier environment. It's a positive trend, and it's heartening to see people care about the environment. Trend is a general direction in which something is developing or changing. For example, the trend towards getting small cars has been increasing. And heartening means inspiring or elevating. For example, it is truly heartening to see these beautiful changes happening across Kuwait. Now, the disadvantages of recycling. Have you ever thought of that? First, it's prohibitively costly and the machinery costs more than you think. It's time consuming and some materials are toxic. We can't recycle them. Some recycled products are of low quality. The quality of the product becomes less. Prohibitively means excessively high, especially of a price or charge. For example, properties in this area tend to be prohibitively expensive, and machinery are machines collectively, a group of machines. For example, with money, you can buy enough machinery for the company. In your opinion, how can we manage household waste? Now remember, when answering Setback questions, any reasonable answer applies. Let's take a look how we can manage household waste. We can run a recycling campaign. Cut down on buying a large quantity of food. Donate things we don't need. Reuse things that can be reused. To cut down on means to reduce, to make it less. For example, people need to cut down on sugar to avoid diabetes. Quantity is an amount or number of something. Example, they bake bread rolls in small quantities. You need to go early before it's sold out. Now, how do some people get rid of unwanted products? Let's leave recycling aside. Usually, more commonly, how do we get rid of unwanted products? First, waste is thrown at sea, which can harm sea creatures of all kinds. When you throw at sea, you cause pollution and you harm marine life. Also, waste is buried or thrown in landfills, which causes land pollution and exploits the useful space. We can use that space to create more houses for families, more apartments, or entertainment, but instead they are landfills. And some people use incinerators to burn waste, and that leads to severe damage to the environment, air pollution. Incinerator is something used for burning waste. For example, look at the machine. This is an incinerator. An incinerator in North London burns around 400,000 tons of rubbish every year. Incineration is the process of destroying something by burning. For example, incineration causes severe damage to the atmosphere. When you come up against, it means to meet or to face. Example, if you come up against difficulties with your project, let me know and I will help you out when you face these difficulties. Let's take a look at this beautiful question. There is a unity and balance between man and nature. Explain. Now, first, this unity can be done by constant care for the environment. You want to feel one with nature, using the world's resources in moderation, and protecting endangered species to keep the balance between man and nature. Let's speak of the role of the government. What can the governments do to keep up with maintaining the environment? What do you think? To keep up with means to know the latest information about. Technology is changing so fast, it's hard to keep up with it. Now, the governments can do several things. Let's think of a few. Governments can pass a law to fine violators and make trashing an offense. Offense is a breach of a law or rule, an illegal act. Example, driving without wearing a seatbelt is a serious offense. To pass a law means to approve or put into effect a certain law by voting on it. For example, we should pass a law to stop unhealthy food advertisements for children. Another thing the government can do is hire environmental administrations to highlight the importance of recycling. Administration is the process or activity of running a business and organization. For example, the university administration lowered the fees for next year. What else can the government do? Also, violators need to put up with red tape and a lot of paperwork as a punishment. Now, put up with means to accept, stand, or tolerate. For example, he couldn't put up with the house being messy after the reconstruction. And red tape means paperwork, a lot of paperwork. For example, he couldn't get his passport on time because of red tape. Paperwork, routine work involving written documents and forms, records, or letters. For example, as soon as they reached the hospital, they had a lot of paperwork to fill first. Now, always remember, don't forget the 3 R's. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Reduce means to use things less. Reuse is to use them again, and recycle means to reprocess them. Let's take more vocabulary words. Annoyance. Annoyance is a noun that means the feeling or state of being annoyed. Irritation is another word. For example, the dog's barking caused annoyance to the whole neighborhood. Bureaucracy is a system of government in which most of the important decisions are made by state officials rather than elected representatives. For example, good bureaucracies develop effective procedures for COVID-19. Component is a part or element of a larger whole. For example, fresh fruit and vegetables are an essential component of a healthy diet, a part of. Concur, to be of the same opinion, to agree on something. For example, do you concur that online learning is fun? Constituent means being a part of a whole. For example, calculating the percentage of a particular constituent is simple. Criticism is the expression of disapproval of something or something based on perceived faults or mistakes. Example, there was much criticism on the new movie on social media accounts. To go along with is to give one's consent or agreement to a person or their views. For example, we convinced him to support our campaign and he agreed to go along with our plan. Irritation is the state of feeling annoyed, impatient, or angry. For example, in spite of her irritation, she kept smiling. Let's learn something fun, more fun than recycling even. Idioms with colors. Now, you remember idioms are expressions that I don't mean literally, but idioms with colors. Let's take a look at them. Out of the blue, red tape, in black and white, to see red, give the green light, put on the blacklist. Match these idioms with their meanings in the other table, in the other direction. Let's take a look. Out of the blue. What do you think out of the blue means? It means unexpectedly. He appeared out of the blue. And red tape, as we took previously, means paperwork. When I say it's in black and white, can't you see it? It means printed clearly. And to see red means got very angry, like when his face turns red, he's seeing red. And to give the green light means to say yes, like when you ask your parents and they give you the green light, it means they said yes. While putting someone on the black list, meaning banning someone. Now, let's take a vocabulary practice. Choose the best answer from A, B, C, or D. Let's take a look at number 1. Kuwaiti bankers say there's been a or an of business confidence since the end of the war. What do you think? Is it upsurge, material, quantity, or incineration? Of course, the answer will be upsurge, and increase. Number 2. I used pesticides to the pests in the garden. I have pesticides, I have pests in the garden. What do I want to do? Do I want to get rid of, cut down on, go along with, or run out of? Of course, you want to get rid of pests in the garden. This is the end of our episode. In this episode, we learned how to use the new vocabulary items in sentences and answer Setback questions. Thank you for watching.